Hi, my name is Martin Phillip. I'm a baker and author, and I've worked for King Arthur Flour for 14 years. And this is my son, Arlo. And today we're making fast and easy puff pastry. So, fast and easy puff pastry. This is basically blitz puff, or what some people know as rough puff. And basically what that is it's puff pastry, but it's made, you can set that on the tray over there, but it's made without the mini series of folds and the base dough and then the butter block. So basically it's a little bit of a shortcut method on making classic puff pastry. Come here and let's look at what the product will look like. So, puff pastry is a laminated dough, similar to croissant dough, except croissant dough is yeasted. So all of the butter, which we're going to put in, and I'm going to show you how to do the mix in a second, produces this flaky pastry, which when you eat it is like insanely good, right?
Yeah, it's
See
so
all
good.
the flake in here? This is some that I made a day or two ago, and look at the flake in here. Can kind of see like that with cream. That's like my idea of like my favorite dessert in the world. Okay, can you set that over there? Thanks, buddy. So let's get to the mix. Now, there are a couple quick things to know about the mix, especially on a day like today in Vermont where it's like 90 degrees. It's seriously hot. In order to have those layers, we need everything to be cold, similar to pie, if you're making pie dough or something like that. So this is right out of the fridge, and this is my flour and salt. And butter is right out of the fridge too. And the reason that we want it cold is that we don't want it melting before it goes into the oven. If it melts, the water comes out, and the water will not only break down the layers that we get in there from the packets or the sort of pockets of fat in the dough, but it will also start to develop the dough and make it less tender. And so I already cubed that butter, and now I'm just tossing it with the flour. And then what I do is I go in with my hands and I press it into some leaves, sort of flattening it like that. And this will take just a couple minutes. Still in pretty big pieces, right?
Yeah.
But they're mostly quite flat, which is what we want. We want these like flakes, or I always call them leaves. And those are what are going to become layers, become all the flaky layers. Okay, I think that's pretty close. It's not all the way there, but it's pretty close, and we'll get it down a little bit more when we go to roll it. So, when I've traditionally made blitz puff pastry or rough puff pastry, I always use water. And puff is one of the doughs that are extremely flexible and versatile. You can use whole grain in here. I've done it with 50% like blue corn flour or buckwheat or rye. You can do a lot of substituting. Usually the water amount is about half the amount of flour. So in baker's percentage terms, we have 100% flour, 50% water, and usually around 80 to 100% butter. The recipe here calls for sour cream. I don't have sour cream, but I do have some really good whole milk, like whole fat yogurt, and so I'm using that as a direct sub for the sour cream quantity. And in testing, it's worked pretty well, right? It's pretty darn good.
So good.
Posey wrote a blog about this, so when you go to this recipe page, you'll see a link out to a blog that Posey did that is really good and shows you a bunch of different uses The one yeast that isn't on there is palmier, and I think that we should come back and do palmier because we made some the other day and they were really, really good. Okay, so I'm subbing whole milk yogurt for the sour cream, no big deal. And like everything else, it's dead cold, like right out of the fridge, pretty much. And it's really important to have an accurate measurement of ingredients when you're making, I mean, I think pretty much everything, but especially in doughs which don't have a lot of moisture, because often people, if you're over scooping your cup of flour and then you go to add your moisture, you may find yourself feeling like, this is really a little bit on the dry side. And it might be, this is a dry dough. You don't want a real wet, you don't want a wet puff pastry because, like I said, if there's too much moisture in there, it will impede tenderness. Okay. I'm not kneading this, I'm just tossing it and sort of packing it together a little bit to help distribute some of the moisture from the yogurt. Sour cream has less moisture than yogurt, but the yogurt has been working really well, so I don't know. I might just stick with yogurt for this because I've been real happy. Okay. Take those for me, thank you, sir. It's not totally together yet, but it's pretty close. And the rest of the work can basically be done with just this bench tool. Kind of pressing it together. Down a little bit. And press. I'm going to do 2 folds here, probably. We'll see how it goes. This feels nice and, I mean, it's coming together pretty well. I don't have a lot of extra flour that I need to incorporate. That's good. Now I'm going to roll it. And in rolling it, I'm going to do a little bit of folding, and that's going to help produce some layers. Small amount of flour. Put the dough on. Small flour on top. I'll give that to you. Thanks, buddy. I'll give you a job in just a second that's more interesting than moving things around, I promise. So, there's that, and it looks pretty good. I might do one more, but I think that's about it. Let's see. And just a little bit of flour on top. It's so warm today that I'm using a little bit more flour than I might in the winter because the butter is close to melting, and so a little bit of flour keeps me from sticking. Like I said, in the winter the butter will stay firmer and I don't need to use as much bench flour. Okay. That's pretty good. Okay. A little bit of flour, and what I'm going to do now is just get it ready to go into the fridge. And so this batch makes a lot of different things, but it will make 2 10x14 rectangles, which is what I need, only one of which will I need to make a Napoleon. So we're going to show you how to make a Napoleon today. It only takes half of this batch amount to make a nice Napoleon. So what I'm going to do is I'll just cut this in half, and then I'll chill that. You can't really see on the camera, but maybe you can see. Can you see those butter stripes in there?
I can.
I don't know if you can see that, Anthem. But all of that butter striping, that's what will make the layers, the flake, exactly. So, okay. So, it's good if you can let the dough fully cool. So we mixed our dough, we did some folds, right? divide it into 2 pieces, and then what I would do is chill it until it's dead cold. Like a couple of hours is best. Sometimes I'll even use the freezer just to really knock it down if I'm in a hurry.
Yeah.
So then I take it out, and if it's been in the freezer, obviously it needs to soften up before you can roll it some, but if it's been in the fridge, that's pretty ideal, and you can kind of go straight to rolling. So, out of the fridge, I rolled it to 10 by 14. This is 10 by 14. And if you look, you can kind of see the light patches of the butter in there. And then I stippled it with a fork, and now we're gonna bake it. And what I do is put another tray on top of it, otherwise it will rise up quite a bit. And just for spacing, I've been messing around and I found that these knives are about the right height off the deck of the sheet tray. That's about, it's a 1/2 inch. These knives are 1/2 inch. And so I put another sheet tray on top, just like that. And then I put it in the oven. You wanna do that? Let me open the door for you?
Yeah.
Now for the fun part. Okay, can you put that over there for me? Okay, so when the sheet is done baking, I take it out and I just trim it to a nice rectangle. And usually what I do, in this case, I made 3-inch pieces, so they're 3 inches wide.
Yep.
And you can see how it browned nicely. It has a great flake to it.
Yeah.
And now I'm just going to assemble the Napoleon. So rhubarb is in season here right now, and so last night I just made a rhubarb compote. And basically what I did was I took 200 grams of rhubarb. Took 200 grams of rhubarb and 100 grams of sugar and about a tablespoon of water. Look up any recipe. I mean, I'm sure there are a zillion recipes for rhubarb compote. I put a strawberry rhubarb compote in my book, and I bet that, and that would be amazing also. I didn't add strawberries to this because we're gonna add fresh strawberries. So I did 200 grams of rhubarb, 100 grams of sugar, and about a tablespoon of water and some vanilla. And I just cooked it with a lid on for about 10 minutes. And then after 10 minutes, I added a tablespoon of cornstarch to a cup of water and just stirred it together and then put it in there and brought it up to a temp and then cooled it. And it's super delicious. That stuff is crazy,
so
right? Okay, so let's assemble this. So thanks for joining us. I hope you find time to make this summery dessert, and that you and yours are well, and we'll see you again soon on another Bake With Us. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you.
Thanks, Anthem.